Once upon a time, in the heart of snowy winter, a queen sat by her ebony window frame, sewing. She accidentally pricked her finger, and 3 drops of crimson blood fell onto the pristine white snow lying on the windowsill. Gazing at the beautiful contrast, she whispered to herself,
I wish I had a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as this ebony wood.
Soon after, the queen's wish was granted, and she gave birth to a daughter who was named
Snow White.
She possessed the exact beauty the queen had desired. Skin as white as the glistening winter snow, lips as red as the color of fresh blood, and hair as black as ebony wood. But the joy was tragically short-lived, for the beloved queen died soon after. After a year of mourning, the king married again. The new queen was breathtakingly beautiful, but she was also consumed by vanity, pride, arrogance, and a cruel, jealous heart, and could not endure the thought that anyone in the world might surpass her in beauty. She had a magical mirror, and each day she would stand before it and ask,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
You, my queen, are the fairest of all.
This satisfied the queen. With each passing year, Snow White grew more beautiful in grace and loveliness. By the time she was 7 years old, her beauty shone like the noonday sun. One morning, the queen stood before her mirror and asked the mirror the same question.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
You are fair, queen, but Snow White is fairer than you.
The mirror answered. The queen was furious, her face twisted with rage and jealousy. From that hour, she hated Snow White. Her heart, already cold, turned to stone. Her anger and envy grew so fierce that she could find no peace. She summoned her most trusted huntsman and commanded him,
Take Snow White into the forest and ensure she never returns.
Plunge a dagger into her heart and bring me back her lungs and liver as proof of your deed.
The huntsman, horrified but bound to obey, led Snow White deep into the woods. When he raised his knife to kill her, she began to cry. The princess pleaded for her life with tears. Oh, dear huntsman, let me live. I will run away into the wild forest and never come home again. The huntsman, taking pity on her innocence, could not bring himself to harm her.
Run, child, escape and never return.
The huntsman killed a wild boar instead, taking its organs back to the queen as false evidence of his completed task. The wicked queen, believing Snow White dead, boiled the organs and ate them. Meanwhile, Snow White, alone, ran deeper and deeper into the vast forest. Terrified of the wild animals and the looming shadows, she ran for hours, not knowing her destination. She ran until twilight, eventually coming upon a tiny, charming cottage that appeared deserted. Exhausted and hungry, she peered inside. The interior was neat, but everything was miniature. A small table set for 7 small plates, 7 tiny chairs, and 7 little beds lined up under clean white sheets. Snow White tidied the house, ate a morsel from each of the 7 plates, and drank a little from each cup. And finally, she lay down on one of the small beds that felt just right, quickly falling asleep. When night fell, the owners of the cottage returned. They were the 7 dwarfs, miners who spent their days digging for gold in the mountains. Noticing that someone had been in their house, they investigated and found Snow White asleep. They were immediately captivated by her beauty. They were friendly and kind. They didn't wake her and let her sleep. In the morning, when Snow White woke up, she told them her story. Upon hearing her story, they offered her sanctuary. Snow White happily agreed to stay, promising to keep the house tidy, prepare their meals, clean, sew, and wash. Before they left for the mines each day, the dwarfs warned her strictly, "Be cautious. Do not on any account open the door to strangers while we are away, for your stepmother will soon discover you are alive." The queen, thinking herself secure, asked her mirror again,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
And the mirror replied, to her absolute horror,
My queen, you are fair, it is true. But Snow White, far over the mountain, with the 7 little dwarfs, is 1,000 times fairer than you.
The queen was furious. Enraged and determined, the queen disguised herself as an old peddler woman. The queen traveled over the snowy mountains to the dwarf's cottage and called out, offering pretty laces. Despite the dwarf's warning, Snow White felt pity for the old woman and opened the door. The queen offered her a beautiful, laced bodice. As Snow White allowed the queen to lace it for her, the queen pulled the laces so tight that Snow White collapsed, seemingly dead. The queen hurried away, believing her plan succeeded. Fortunately, the dwarfs returned shortly after. Realizing Snow White had been laced too tightly, they quickly cut the cord. And the princess was revived, gasping for air. The wicked queen, upon consulting her mirror again, learned of her failure. She foamed with rage. This time she fashioned a poisoned comb. Disguising herself as another old woman, she returned to the dwarf's cottage and knocked gently.
Beautiful combs for your lovely hair.
Again, Snow White let her in. The queen offered to comb her hair, and the moment the poisoned teeth touched Snow White's scalp, the poison took effect, and she fell lifelessly to the floor. The dwarfs, however, returned just in time, recognized the danger, and quickly removed the comb. Once again, Snow White came back to life, and the dwarf scolded her severely for her carelessness. You must never, ever open the door to strangers again. When the queen learned that Snow White was still alive, furious beyond measure, she retreated to her darkest chamber and crafted her final deadly device. A magnificent, glossy red and white apple. Half of it was delicious and safe, the other half imbued with deadly poison. Disguised as a farmer's wife, she approached the dwarf's cottage for the third time. When she knocked, Snow White refused to open the door.
Juicy apples picked fresh from the orchard.
Snow White initially refused to take the apple. The queen, to prove the apple was harmless, cut it in half. Taking the safe white portion for herself and offering the poisoned red half to Snow White. Eager to try the fruit, Snow White took a bite. Instantly, the poison seized her and she fell to the ground, dead.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
You, my queen, are the fairest of all.
The queen laughed triumphantly, and her cruel heart finally had peace. The 7 dwarfs returned that evening and could not revive Snow White. They tried everything, but nothing worked. She didn't breathe. They wept for 3 days and 3 nights, realizing that no living magic could save her, convinced their friend was truly gone. They could not bear to bury her in the cold earth. So they built a magnificent coffin entirely of crystal glass and wrote her name in golden letters. Laying her inside it so that her beauty could be admired forever. They placed the coffin on a mountaintop, and one of them always remained to guard her. Time passed. One day, a handsome prince riding through the forest came upon the glass coffin and the breathtakingly beautiful maiden within. He was instantly struck by her serene beauty. He read the inscription and pleaded earnestly with the dwarfs to let him take the coffin.
Please allow me to take Snow White away. I promise to treasure and honor her with all my heart.
Initially, the dwarfs refused, but moved by his genuine devotion, the dwarfs consented. As the prince's servants lifted the heavy glass coffin to carry it away, one of them stumbled on a route, causing a jolt. This sudden movement dislodged the piece of poisonous apple from Snow White's throat. She coughed, opened her eyes, and was alive once more. Overjoyed, the prince declared his love and asked her to be his queen. Snow White, who instantly fell in love with his kindness and sincerity, smiled and agreed to marry him. Their wedding was to be the grandest celebration in the kingdom. The wedding was announced with great splendor.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
My queen, you are fair, it's true, but the new queen is fairer than you.
The wicked queen dressed herself in the finest garments for the event. Driven by a terrible mix of curiosity, dread, and unconquerable venomous rage, she attended the wedding. At the wedding feast, she discovered the new queen was none other than Snow White, alive and more beautiful than ever. The sentence was passed. The wicked queen was forced to step into a pair of iron shoes that had been heated in the fire until they glowed bright red. She was then made to dance in them until, exhausted, in agony, and consumed by her own jealousy and cruelty, she dropped dead. Snow White and the prince ruled their kingdom with wisdom, kindness, grace, and they lived happily ever after.